you're going to get some people that want to talk trash about you almost no matter what you do. And especially if you want to grow, and this is a podcast for fast growth. It doesn't matter. You're always just going to have people that are kind of talking trash about you and want to say bad things, and it's just inevitable. Especially with more success and more popularity, that's going to come. And so I don't want to say embrace it because that's kind of the wrong way, but just you embrace that when you get to a certain level, you have so many kind of raving fans and people that love your stuff that as a byproduct of that, you're going to have some people just completely hate kind of everything that you stand for. And it comes with the territory. Like, imagine being Taylor Swift, right? Like, how many millions, billions probably of people love her. There's some people that absolutely hate her, and it just kind of comes with the territory. So I understand the hesitation and kind of wanting to not push the envelope a little bit, but if you try to stand for everything and be for everyone, you end up being for nobody.
Welcome to Grow Think Tank. This is the one and only place where you will get insight from the founders and the CEOs of the fastest growing privately held companies. I am the host. My name is Gene Hammett. I help leaders and their teams navigate the defining moments of their growth. Are you ready to grow?
Today, we're going to look at leadership from a different perspective. We're really going to look at the power of being authentic as a leader and what that translates into growing your company. Our special guest today is the co-founder of RP Strength. They are a company that does fitness apps and coaching for organizations, and they've really grown to be over $100 million in gross sales as their company has scaled up. We're talking with Nick Shaw, that co-founder, and Nick and I discuss, the power of being authentic, what that's done for their brand. In fact, he mentions the fact that his co-founder, Dr. Mike, has a different personality from him and is willing to be edgy and to call things a spade or call bullshit on things. And he was a little bit hesitant about that, but the power of being authentic and what that's done for the brand. But we also look at it from a perspective of leading his company and really being authentic with people through, the tough conversations that are necessary and what it really takes as you grow a business. So we kind of talk about a few different things in today's episode with Nick, but I think you'll get a lot out of it. My name is Gene Hammett. I am a business coach, a leadership coach specifically. We work with executive coaching of fast growth companies. That's what I do. But then I have a team behind me that helps these companies with cultural transformations and help them turn managers into leaders. And it may sound like we do a lot of things, but here's what I want you to remember. The one thing we do is help companies create sustainable growth through a self-managing company and self-expanding. If you really are interested about what we do, I'd love to talk to you about what's going on in your business, get to know you. But if you really want to kind of tiptoe your way into our world, then we offer something unique that no one else probably in your world offers, but a chance to talk with us and ask questions and engage, not just with me, but with other experts and the guests that have been on the show and CEOs of fast growth companies and our clients and prospects. And so if you're curious about what that is, it's go to coreelevation.com/virtual conversations, where we put up a different topic every month. It's one per month and it changes, and see if it resonates with you. And if it does, sign up for it. And if it doesn't, you can sign up for it and we can still communicate with you. But I really want you to think about how, if you want to know more about us, you want to know more about growing your business, and you don't want to have a direct conversation with me because you think it's going to be a sales call and you're going to be pitched something, just come in and really would love for you to connect with that. Here's the interview with Nick. Nick, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much for having me on today.
Well, excited to have you on the podcast to talk about business mostly, but you're in the business world, but you built it on fitness. So tell us a little bit about RP Strength.
Yeah, fitness is my life. It kind of always has been growing up. So I always knew I wanted to do something, whether it was sports related or, kind of later once I got into college. I actually met Dr. Mike, who started the company with. We met in college at the University of Michigan and quickly sort of pivoted and went, yeah, you know what? Sports, I love sports, but really love fitness. And it's something, I'm not necessarily an athlete myself, wasn't really gifted with maybe the best genetics in the world. But, when it comes to fitness, you can always do something about it. You always have control over that. And I've just always been drawn to it. So the fact that I was able to make a career and a living and help a lot of people from fitness and I couldn't really ask for anything, different or better.
And this isn't just a small little coaching business that you do out of a, backyard gym or a little side hustle. This is a real proper business, and you guys have reached a new milestone recently. Tell us a little bit about your recent success with RP Strength.
Yeah, well, it's funny you say that because that's how we started. And Dr. Mike and I just thought we'd be some coaches and we'd help people out just because we love fitness. That's what we love doing. And we just, I guess, along the way, sort of figured out or kind of solved the how do you scale fitness coaching to people, and started with spreadsheets, digital products, and later turned it into apps. And now we have a diet coach app and a RP hypertrophy app, and those are able to help hundreds of thousands, and our free content on YouTube reaches literally millions of people every single day. It's just unbelievable, and went from completely bootstrapped to now we've done over $100 million lifetime revenue, which is pretty cool, I think. So it's just really awesome that we get to do what we do and help a lot of people along the way.
Well, excited to have you here. I'd love to talk about RP Strength, but I also know that probably isn't what our audience has come here to talk about with you, but it's about like the business aspects of this. And you've learned some lessons of late that I don't know if they came hard or they just came with
Sure.
you resisting it, but I'd love for you to share some of the things you've learned recently about growing a company to the pace you have.
Yeah, we were talking about this a little bit before we hit record, and one of the biggest ones is really just the power of being authentic and authenticity around just the way you message and market to people. And we definitely learned this the hard way and had some like a couple rough years. Not really mean rough in that like business wasn't going well, but things were just pretty stagnant for a while, during COVID and a little bit beyond. And I kind of wrongfully assumed, I don't know, I almost weirdly took pride in trying to be like Switzerland, if you know what I mean, just being very neutral and not really wanting to be edgy or not wanting to be controversial or stand out or anything like that. And I was unintentionally doing us a really big disservice because my colleague, Dr. Mike, who is now like a fitness celebrity, especially on YouTube, we probably arguably have the number one fitness channel on YouTube right now, which is pretty crazy, and have, the last probably quarter or so. And it's because we sort of turned him loose a little bit. And if you've ever listened to it, I know you have, but maybe some other folks listening in, just go on YouTube and search in, Dr. Mike, anything really related to like lifting. And you're going to see him, large head, usually no hair, but he's got this really, I'd like to call it the gift of the gab. And he's able to take complex ideas and break them down into really easy to digest information, but mix that in with some really off the wall analogies and mix it in with all sorts of kind of weird self-deprecating humor along the way. And it's that combination that, I mean, you know how it is. You probably went to college and you had lots of dry professors who just, man, this stuff's really boring. They took something that maybe you even were passionate about, but kind of just dulled it down for you. Like, wow, I can barely sit through this. And I remember this was back in 2014, sitting in a classroom at the University of Central Missouri, which is where Mike was teaching at the time. And the class was just lighting up. I mean, everyone was laughing and having a good time. And I just remember looking around because that wasn't necessarily my college experience at Michigan. Like, I remember sitting through some really tough classes, just this stuff is boring as heck. And that was not the case here. And I just remember thinking to myself, like, he shouldn't be doing this for 30 people. He should be doing this for 30,000, 300,000, 3 million people, something like that. And just kind of over the time, we've sort of turned that loose a little bit more. And it's just absolutely blown up. People love it because when you can present that information in easy to understand format, but you're also funny, it's just so much more engaging. Like you want to listen to it and you get the take home messages and you also laugh. And then, because it is funny, you want to share it with other people. You're like, hey, get a load of this guy. Can you believe that? And it's just really, it's been remarkable. And the gift of the gab, not everyone has it. Listen, I like to think I can do okay, but he makes me look like I'm nothing compared. So total kudos to him. But the lesson to me goes back to just being more authentic to who you really are. And people really do appreciate that. And it shines through so easily on social media.
Now, Nick's been talking about being authentic. One thing I want to remind you of is something I've learned over the years, which is having a point of view is really important because when you have a point of view, you know what you stand for. Now, you may not know what your point of view is, or you may think you know what it is. And I'm not going to give you a step by step, but I want you to think about what your point of view is for your business, what you really stand for. And if you could really connect to that and share it with others, would they be resonate with it? Would they care? And I know that when my point of view got sharper as I do this, and I really work with companies that are, continuing to grow, and they have sustainability issues because they add more people and then they end up having people problems. And so what we stand for truly is leadership at all levels of the company. When you have that right, you will be able to grow through this and create sustainable growth and even a self-expanding company. Now, what is your point of view? Are you willing to do the work and think about it and share it with others and get the feedback and then use that as a core messaging as your company grows? That's what Nick's been talking about. Hopefully, this helps you too. Back to Nick. I'm glad you brought that up because I, even with my own brand and speaking about leadership, whatnot, it's pretty neutral. It's a really good way to put it by being Switzerland. And it probably has done a disservice of this because there are some areas out there that I can call bullshit on because that's what
Yep.
Dr. Mike does best is calling
Yeah.
bullshit on all the other, trendy kind of
Yep.
edgy stuff that doesn't work. And I could see how that attracts people to this and that they lean in and to look at what the company
Yep.
does, what you stand for.
Mm.
Um, is there any other lesson behind being authentic that you could share with us? I mean, there's a lot of business owners here today that probably think, "Oh, I couldn't do that. I couldn't be the way, call
Yeah.
bullshit on things." How would you take it a little step further?
Yeah. Oh man, because I remember thinking all these same things that these listeners are probably thinking as well. It's just, well, I don't want to say that because we might get an angry email, or we'll get someone that reaches out that kind of yells at us or is upset. And I used to be really, really aware of all that, and I took it really, really personally. So if you want to talk about another lesson learned, it's you're gonna get some people that want to talk trash about you almost no matter what you do. And especially if you want to grow, and this is a podcast for fast growth. It doesn't matter. You're always just gonna have people that are kind of talking trash about you and want to say bad things, and it's just inevitable, especially with more success and more popularity. That's gonna come, and so you almost I don't want to say embrace it because that's kind of the wrong way, but just you embrace that when you get to a certain level. You have so many kind of raving fans and people that love your stuff that as a byproduct of that, you're gonna have some people that just completely hate kind of everything that you stand for. And, it's just, it comes with the territory. Like imagine being, Taylor Swift, right? Like how many millions, billions probably of people love her. There's some people that absolutely hate her and it just kind of comes with the territory. So I understand the hesitation and kind of wanting to not push the envelope a little bit, but if you stand for you try to stand for everything and be for everyone, you end up being for nobody. And that was really a big take home point as I kind of set about to learn marketing more and better. That came with it because we were so kind of bland. It wasn't really clear who we were really going after. And then when we leaned back into more of our core demographic, things just really took off, and it's been really great so far.
I want to switch gears with you because I really feel like we came here to talk about typically leadership and whatnot. Nick, you've had to learn to lead a company. Your company's grown pretty fast. You have over 50 employees, maybe even more now. What have you learned in this journey of leadership that you think would help our audience?
Oh yeah, I learned a lot along the way, and I used to probably the biggest thing was I used to maybe just give lip service to the idea of culture. And people were to ask me a couple years ago, I'd be like, "Yeah, we've got fine culture. Yeah, our culture's fine." And we weren't really intentional about it. And probably as really a result of me not being super confident in it. Like I kind of, because I'm an avid reader, I like to read, listen to podcasts and all that stuff, and just, how can I get better? And I maybe knew a little bit more than what I was intentionally trying to do in the company, but I just wasn't confident enough in it. And, it's sort of I guess, the proverbial imposter syndrome. We had some more senior people, and I was like, I don't know, I should probably just maybe defer to what they think, or some of this stuff. And obviously that was at least moderately successful. But as I just really set about learning as much as I could about it, listening to as much from folks like yourself and other podcasts on it, you just get more confident and you're like, "Oh, okay, like this is what I should be doing now. My job isn't to be in the weeds doing stuff, all the technical stuff. No, no, no. My job is to kind of set above the fray and really just instill that culture where, if we do have some difficult or tough conversations, like it is our job to give people feedback. We all want the same thing. We're all on the same page. We've got a great team. We've got really good people. Feedback should just be standard, should just be part of it, not something that we have to tiptoe around. And that's really what I've kind of been trying to do more so here the last, 3 to 6 months, is just hopefully try to reinstill that really great culture. And that's kind of where I've put most of my time and focus. And honestly, I give a lot of credit to I'm in a Vistage group, and so I get to go see other folks that are, bigger than than our company. I get to see it in person because our company is completely remote, but I get to go and see all this stuff firsthand in person, and it's had a really big positive impact on me and hopefully the way that I'm leading RP.
Now, I can't do this all the time when a guest mentions tough conversations, but since the book is just now coming out, you might want to go ahead and sign up for either a pre-sale copy of it or go ahead and download your copy. Just go to howtohavetoughconversations.com and you will get our framework for having tough conversations. You will get our tools. You will get the stories that really unlock this power to be a great leader by giving feedback. What I know for sure is that people struggle with this because I talk to people all the time and they say, yeah, there's something I'm avoiding. I'm not having the conversation that I know I need to have because I'm not sure how that person will respond. What we give you is the courage to actually engage, but also a framework and tools to allow you to be more effective at doing this, get better at it, and treat it as a skill that you can grow from. That's what we're doing for you. So if you're curious about what that book is, just go to howtohavetoughconversations.com. You can sign up for it there, or you can buy it where you buy books. Back to Nick. Well, Nick, I appreciate you sharing that with us today. I know you've also written a book. Tell us a little bit about, one of the things that you wanted to highlight about the book. I know that is it Fit for Success?
Yep. Mhm.
What is one story from there or one element of this that you think would help our audience understand what the book's about, but also just help them with their business?
Yeah. So probably so there's like seven main habits, but the one that really sticks out to me is called internal locus of control. So, people like to call this a bunch of different things, control the controllables, et cetera. But probably the biggest take home story that I can give for is a, very personal experience was right before COVID hit. So this was January of 2020. My wife was diagnosed with breast cancer, and she's 99.99% back to healthy now. She's doing really, really great. But she was going to have to go through chemo. She was going to lose her hair, and she had this really great idea where she's like, "I cannot let our kids see this happen to me." Our kids were 8 and 6 at the time, and she had this really great idea where she's like, "I want you to shave my head." I said, "Are you sure?" She was adamant about it. She's like, "Yes, no, you're going to do this." And I was like, "All right, well, I mean, if, I don't know if people can see this on video, like I don't have long hair." So I was like, "Okay, cool, I'll do it too." And, my son wanted to do it. And, my daughter was 6 at the time. She was in kindergarten. I forget if this, it's been four plus years now. I forget if she was still in school, or if maybe we were now homeschooled. I forget that whole timeline and that whole mess. But I ended up doing this like just a little strip along her head. And what it did was it allowed, my wife and essentially our whole family to take the power back. So like we weren't victims to this kind of bad thing that was happening and all this bad stuff that was occurring at this, few month time span there in early 2020. And it really just had this remarkable impact on our family because we were like, no, we have a say on this. It's not the external stuff. It's actually what can we do about it? What is that internal locus of control? And when you switch that, it just gives you a lot more power and hope and kind of optimism that you can get through stuff. And it was like I saw how powerful that was, and I was already kind of thinking about a lot of this stuff. And I said to myself, I have to get this book out before 2020 ends because everyone in the world's being impacted by COVID and everything that's going on. So if I can get this out, if we can go through this, share this positive message with people. We ended up launching the book, I think, in November of 2020, so before the end of the year, and I'm very happy with the way it turned out.
Well, I want to wrap up with the rest of our conversation today about fitness. The reason I go that because we normally talk about leadership and whatnot, but I think to be the best leader you can be, you've got to take care of your body. You got to have the
Yeah.
energy, you
Yep.
got to have the drive, you got to show up for things and be prepared. And I think the fitness lifestyle has really helped me so much in my ability. And as I've gotten older, it's become much more important for me to be strong. It's important for me to be very intentional about going to the doctor, getting my blood work, and getting all those things, getting ahead of it, and not just waiting for 1 year. You've got a lot more perspective around this than me. Like strength is the number one factor of longevity at this point. And maybe I have it a little bit off, but you probably know more about the science than I do. Tell us a little bit more about how being fit translates into being a great leader in today's business world.
Yeah, there's just so much going on around you. If you want to be the leader, like people look up to you for good and for bad. And I always just, think of it as a proactive measure that you can take. Like, we don't want to be reactive in business. And I think most people would agree with that. We want to be proactive. We want to have a plan. We want to have a strategy in place. Like, how do you not also have that with your own health? Because if you don't have health, you literally have nothing, right? And you think about all the people that may be super, super rich and wealthy, but if they're sick, they would spend every dollar that they had to get back to being healthy. And so, like, why are you gonna worry yourself to death, literally sometimes, about business and not have a plan in place around fitness and health and what you're gonna do? And like, again, it goes back to internal locus of control because you have control over that. You control what you consume, mentally, but also physically, right? Like what you're eating. If you can get out and exercise, you have control over this. And why wait until it's kind of taken away from you when you're not healthy to get a plan in place to start doing it? So what I always really encourage people to do is, can you get to the gym a couple times a week? I'm not even saying you have to do anything super crazy. Just get out and start doing something. And it's usually one of those little kind of incremental steps where you start taking some positive steps in the right direction. You get a little bit more momentum. Guess what? Now you believe that you can, your self-efficacy goes up. So again, you start taking these steps, it just becomes a little bit easier over time. So just get to the gym a couple times a week. It doesn't have to be something that completely consumes your life. And most of the times when you're eating, try to start off with some form of like lean protein. If you can do just those two things, you're probably going to be much better off here in the next 6 to 12 months. And it's probably going to be a boost where you can use those little habits to later on, do even more. But I would say just start really simple because we don't want to overwhelm people with too much.
Well, very good place to end this. I really appreciate you being here, Nick, to talk about not only the success of your business, but also how do we show up as leaders to be, have the bodies and the energy level to
Yeah.
lead others. And that's it's a big part of what I think a holistic approach to this is. I don't do the fitness coaching; I just live it.
Mm.
As a black belt in jujitsu and a fan of what RP done. I actually was a customer. I used you guys for
Yeah.
at least 6 months, if not longer, and was really incredible. And I don't get paid for any of this stuff. This is not a paid promotion, but I thought really smart way to do it and organize it. And if you need support, they have not only the app, but also personalized coaching that you can get dialed in for you and really believe in what you guys doing, what you stand for.
Awesome, man. Again, thanks so much for having me on. And yeah, it was great that I guess the world isn't too big that we've been connected a little bit offline before.
Wow, what a great interview. I love talking with him today about, being authentic and about really, understanding his transformation as a leader, but also the fitness aspects of how important it is to be strong and to have the energy to lead others. And so hopefully you got a lot out of today's message with Nick at RP Strength. When you think of growth and you think of leadership, think of Growth Think Tank. As always, lead with courage. We'll see you next time.